Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, so let's get started. It is now July the 15th, 2026. The time is 5:30. We're going to get started with the City of Compton Charter Review Committee meeting. If we can stand for 1 minute of silence while we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, let's start off with roll call.
Commissioner Baker,
Present.
Commissioner Warren, Chairman Griffin,
Present.
Vice Chair Butler,
Present.
Commissioner Holbrook,
Here.
Commissioner Marquez,
Present.
Commissioner Gideon,
Present.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
And everyone in the audience, I don't know if you can hear us. There, we have a fan to keep the room cooler. So if everyone can speak just a little bit louder than you typically would, so that everyone in the audience and our listening audience online can hear us. Okay, so before I get into the next section, if everyone could be respectful and put their phone on silent or vibrate, that will be important because we have people online and they need to hear every single thing, and we want to make sure the record is also clear. All right, let's move into public comments. Agenda items, 2 minutes each person. When you get to the microphone, speak your name first. We'll hear people in the audience first, and then we'll follow up by people who are online.
Good evening, Ron Dowell, concerned citizens of Compton, Chair Compton Charter Review Committee. Resolution number 26357 set an ambitious schedule to meet the August 7 ballot deadline and should be amended. Both charter review and revision are necessary, and the commissioners selected to undertake this work bring valuable experience. However, the current schedule is unlikely to achieve the level of public participation that meaningful charter reform requires. Instead of rushing charter revision, Compton can seek grant funding for an 18-month charter review and civic engagement initiative that supports public education, neighborhood outreach, surveys, governance research, transparent reporting, and opportunities for residents to review and comment on draft recommendations. These are the types of planning and community engagement activities that many federal grants are designed to support. The question before us is not whether Compton should review its charter, but whether we will give all residents a meaningful opportunity to shape it. Community engagement should be broad, intentional, and accessible. It should reach every neighborhood from Wilmington Arms to Sunny Cove and from Richland Farms to businesses along Long Beach Boulevard, and include churches, schools, nonprofits, youth, seniors, renters, homeowners, and local employers. A city charter belongs to every resident. It should never be a product of only a handful of meetings over a few months. Good charter reform takes time, fosters participation, and builds public trust. Let's leave future generations a charter they can truly believe in, not merely one we managed to finish on time. Toward that end, I respectfully submit for the record a proposed timeline that offers a realistic path forward.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, next person. Agenda items, 2 minutes. State your name.
Villanueva. I don't know if this is in the agenda. It had been tabled, section 600 to 603. I'm hoping that you guys could add some of the information that was shared during the Ethics Committee meeting, especially with the conflict of interest, making public contracts, and all these other issues. Some of the specific duties of the mayor and the city council, they're not too specific. And there's also there's nothing about ethics and certain regulations. I think it's important to add it to the city charter, to amend it and add it, so they're aware. And if there's violations, it could be easier. The council to understand that there are certain things, even if they don't take the training, that they're aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments, agenda items, 2 minutes.
I see here that you,
Name, please.
Vanessa, D1. I am in favor of the term limits because I think sometimes we have council people that have just sat there too long and just do not see the vision. And I think a lot of us are seeing that now with what's going on with our council and the things that are not taking place. So I am in agreement with term limits. I think it should be just a president serves 2 terms, mayor 2 terms. Maybe the same thing with council, because it's just, it is not working out at all. So I am in agreement with that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Charter Review Committee members. My name is Arnaldo Gutierrez. I'm a Compton resident from the 4th District. I would like to thank the Charter Review Committee members for being receptive to the community's comments, making adjustments in response to that input, and formally including public correspondence in the record. I would also like to thank the Vice Chair for speaking during the public comments at yesterday's City Council meeting and inviting the community to participate in this process. I would like to know how the public can access all correspondence submitted as part of the charter review process. Will the correspondence be posted online with the meeting agendas and supporting material? Or will the residents need to submit a public record request to the city clerk? I ask because a public record request was recently submitted for the formal written report required by resolution number 25,156, page 1, line 11. The resolution adopted November 5th, 2019, directed the Charter Review Committee, back then, to prepare a report recommending proposed charter amendments. However, the response indicated that there is no record of that report, even a record identifying who served on the committee. At a minimum, future charter review committees should not have to reinvent the wheel. They should be able to determine what amendments were previously proposed, why they were recommended, who proposed them, what evidence supports them, what alternatives were considered, and ultimately what happened to each recommendation. Traceability is a fundamental principle of engineering, aerospace, and ISO systems.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
You so much. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Isaac Asbury, and I would like to just present documentation in reference to homicides and takeovers. So I would like to give it to him, and everybody on the panel will get a copy, correct? All right, that's it.
Okay, anyone else in the audience? Agenda items? Going once? Going twice. Okay. All right, so I'm going to transition us to anyone online. I understand that we may have someone or several people online.
At this time, Mr. Chair, we have no one on Zoom waiting to contact us.
Okay. All right, so let's move into new business. Before we move on, let me just do a recap for those who were not present at the last meeting. So the last meeting we had was canceled. The meeting prior to that, where we left off at, was we finished section 700 of the charter, and we are here today to discuss some items in section 500, 600, and 700. A lot of those questions will be directed towards the HR director, who I understand is here present. Before we bring up the HR director, I do want to just establish some rules of engagement. First, I want to remind everyone, and I was very strategic when making sure that the record was sent out. And you can see it's kind of confusing when we're trying to capture the record, when people are talking without being acknowledged, because it doesn't know you kind of blend into everyone. So let's go over some rules. Before you speak, please wait for the chair to acknowledge you. That way the record will be clear, okay? So you raise your hand, you can go on green. The secretary or myself, we will acknowledge you, and then you can start. As it relates to the HR director, I want to thank the director for being here after hours. We do have an exhaustive agenda we need to get to. So this meeting is not going to be solely focused with the HR director in respect to the other items that we have to get to. So I'm going to call a hard stop at 6:10. In order to achieve that, each person, one question, and you can ask a follow-up question. After you finish your follow-up question, then we have to make room for everyone else. We will circle back to you if time permits. Again, one question and a follow-up question. And then we move on to the next person so that everybody has equal opportunity. So this will be your time, if you do have questions for the HR director, to please have them prepared in a question format, not narrative, but a question format, so that they can be asked and answered. All right, having said that, can we ask HR director to come up? And again, I want to thank you for being present after hours. And we do have an exhaustive agenda, and I want to give respect to all of the other items. So I'm going to do a hard stop at 6:10, okay? All right, so you want to just introduce yourself, and then we'll start with opening up for questions.
Yep. TJ, Taquan Jones. You can call me TJ, Interim Human Resources Director for the City of Compton.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the floor is open. I will acknowledge you. Who wants to start? Okay, Commissioner Holbrook.
Okay, good evening. My question is regarding the council assistants. Who recruits them? Is it the Personnel Commission, Human Resources, or are they selected by the City Council?
The Human Resource Department handles all recruitments for the city. You hear me clearly? Sorry. The Human Resource Department handles all recruitments for the city. The City Manager's Office helps coordinate the selection of them with the council person that they'll be assigned to.
And really quickly, anyone in the audience, if you can't hear, if you can just kind of raise your hand to tell me to have someone speak up louder. Just want to make sure everybody can hear everything. All right? Any follow-up to that?
Also, I want to know who writes their performance evaluations.
That would be the City Manager's Office in conjunction with the council person that they report to.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lister?
Commissioner Lister, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. So, from a historical standpoint, have we always had 5 liaisons? And the reason why I ask that question is because the community often says that years ago, I'm not sure how long ago, the City of Compton had one individual that served in the liaison capacity, that served as all 5 council members? And I know today each council person has their own. So do you know what may have led from going from 1 to 5 from a historical standpoint?
I do not know that. The only historical standpoint that I can probably reference, right now, every council person has a liaison, and then the mayor has a secretary that is dedicated to her. At one point, there was a secretary to the mayor and council, so that may have been what that individual liaison was. But I think at the size of the districts and the size of the city, one dedicated liaison was probably the best practice at that time. I can try to deep dive and see when that began, but I'll need quite a bit of time to go back into historical records to see position controls, to see when it stopped being just one liaison.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Butler.
Hi, thank you. So before I begin, I really want to thank you for coming in. I know, again, like the chair said, that you were probably a little tired, but, you know, being a vice chair for ASME, I do have a question. Are the liaisons protected? Are
No.
they union protected? They're not?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Next question, Commissioner Quinteros.
And we can move on outside of the liaison? Or?
Yes, most
Okay.
definitely.
In section 700, we have numerous listed positions, right? City engineers, superintendent, city controller, et cetera. My understanding is that the city manager only appoints the assistant city managers. Therefore, that the rest of the positions are filled through your department. The postings and the requirements that are listed in recruiting, do they mirror or are they based off what the city charter says, or are they drafted separate and apart?
So the Human Resource Department recruits for every single seat except for any elected seat. So in Section 700, with the exception of the clerk and the treasurer, which are elected, every other position the recruitment is ran in conjunction with Human Resources. In regards to the job specs, charters nowadays don't necessarily enumerate different positions. This was back before org charts really existed. This is an old charter. These positions are all appointed at the will of the city manager. So the ACMs are directly appointed by the city manager, and the department heads report to the city manager. But they are all part of the classified service with the exception of the ACMs, which means they have to go through a formal recruitment. It has to be merit, they have to meet the minimum qualifications, they have to compete, they have to be certified at the personnel board, and they have to go through a formal interview process, whereas an ACM does not have to be placed in front of the personnel board. They can go off of their minimum qualifications, and the city manager can hire from there.
Okay, and so just to be clear, the positions that you, aside from the ones that are appointed by a city manager, the ACMs that you mentioned, those job specs, you guys draft them according to current requirements, employment law, and everything?
Correct. So
Okay.
the majority of those, with the exception of the controller, are all union bargain positions. So we meet and confer with the unions if there are going to be any changes to the job specs. Many of our job specs have been in place for at least 20 years. We are going through some revisements as they come up, but we meet and confer according to the state laws, and then we make those adjustments. We bring those to personnel board, then we bring those to council for adoption. And I apologize in advance. I know I talk a little fast. If I need to stop and repeat, let me know.
You're doing fine.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Marquez.
Back to the liaisons. Who sets their schedule and who accounts for them to be at work?
City council person. So all of their direct work assignments, et cetera, are handled by their particular council person.
You have a follow-up question, Commissioner Marquez? No? Okay. Commissioner Holbrook.
I'm looking at the personnel board. How do they play in accordance with the human resources? What is their job spec or whatever?
So the personnel board is appointed by the council. It's typically 5. They serve as essentially a board if there is a concern about a job that the public or any individual employee can come and make a concern known to the personnel board. So for example, any job that we send out a fail notice to, they have 5 calendar days to come and appeal. If they've exhausted their appeals, they can make an appeal to the personnel board at the time of the certification of the list and make their concerns known. And the personnel board can review the job, can review the recruitment, can review the personnel rules and regs and make a decision if they'd like to ask further information of HR for that, or if they'd like to continue on with the certification of the list.
So you're saying, in other words, the personnel board is the one doing the hiring?
No, we do the hiring. Personnel board does not oversee HR. They're appointed by the council to be a neutral body to make sure that we've done it cleanly and for people to come and make their concerns known to.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Baker.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, sir, for being here tonight. Just to piggyback off of Commissioner Quinteros, so the positions listed in Section 700, I believe you said, to your knowledge, the way that they're outlined in the charter might be kind of a antiquated or outdated way of doing so, because those particular positions, to my knowledge, those are subject to HR hiring and the union, all of that good stuff. That's subject to that. So regardless of what we may recommend or may change for this charter, that wouldn't necessarily matter because that's already been agreed upon and decided, you know, through the collective bargaining and all of that good stuff. Am I correct in that?
Correct. So these job specs for the non-elected positions are a facsimile of what's actually in their job spec. So, for example, if you look at the controller, it points out a few things, but it doesn't point out ACFR and some of those other modernized terms. Those are listed in the job spec, and we don't do those typically for elected officials because there's no merit in principle for an elected official. There's no discipline that the city can offer to an elected official on an administrative level. That would have to come from the council, censures, et cetera, whereas a department head is subject to performance reviews and they're subject to those things. So we actually have to outline what they're going to be accountable for so that they can be disciplined or admonished accordingly.
Yes, sir. And thank you. And that clarifies some things for me. And just to follow up with that, and I'm not sure if this question would be more so for you or for legal counsel, but if there is a position that's listed in here in the charter, does that mean that position has to be filled, or that mean it's just listed in there? So, for example, chief of police, we don't have a chief of police. So, you know, it being in here and us not having that position filled, are we in violation or going against our set charter, or it can still be in the charter and still be an unfilled position? Unless it specifically outlines this position needs to be filled, and if it becomes vacant, then it needs, you know, to be filled within 30 days or something of that nature. So I'm not sure if that's a question for yourself or for legal counsel.
I'll answer if legal. No problem. So 20 plus years ago, we had a chief of police. We had our own Compton PD. The city met with the unions and I believe made an amendment of some sort. It may be in the municipal code in which they allowed us to contract out to the sheriff in absence of having a chief of police.
To the extent it's helpful, I'm just noting that, for example, the building official, which is section 711, it seems to describe the position rather than...
Speak a little louder.
It seems to, so section 711, for example, the building official, the charter seems to describe the role, not by its text mandate that it's filled, but would have to look into that more and report back to the extent you're looking for more than that answer.
Okay, Commissioner Quinteros.
Thank you. As far as the city council pay, I understand it's $600 a month stipend. However, what is the average income that they are getting per year, given all the extra that they receive for committees or whatever?
I'm not under I don't cover pay. I'm not under the impression that they're receiving anything extra for their other committees, et cetera. From the salary schedule, $7,200. That's $600 over 12, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on math. I'm not in finance.
Okay, so just to be clear, you don't, to your knowledge, they don't receive anything outside of the $600 a month?
I would have to go do an audit. I know at one point some were getting a car allowance, and many have rescinded it in recent months. But I would have to coordinate that with the controller's office to determine if they are.
And I'm sorry, because I know that's a second follow-up, but would it be possible then to get, I guess to make it easier, what a city council person qualifies for as far as stipends, including car allowance, like everything that if I get elected city council, I may receive, even if I say yes or no, right? Just what I qualify for, be it from the city or from attending other committees from the city.
So what I can tell you is, from an HR standpoint, they get the $600 per month, and as a courtesy, we offer benefits to the elected officials. That is not necessarily a requirement. So if you factor in their benefits, the benefits are up to the Kaiser family rate this year is right around $2,300 before they get it. So let's just say in benefits and pay, as far as I'm understanding, just shy of $3 grand. If they get any other stipends for any other things, we don't pay those. I would have to defer to city manager's office for them to coordinate with the controller's office.
I would ask that we.
Oh, okay. We'll come back to you. Commissioner Lister?
Two things. For the personnel director, can you explain to myself and others what's the difference between an operation between the personnel committee and I think there's a civil service commission or committee?
We
Or
don't have
did
that
they-
here.
So we don't have that.
We only have the personnel board.
Okay. So with that being said, does an employee have, is there a process where if an employee is facing discipline or termination, they could appeal to the personnel board?
Yes, so that's outlined in their MOUs and MMBA. So employees in the classified service have what we call property rights. That means that they cannot just be dismissed just because today is Wednesday. We actually have to have evidence of any type of misconduct or wrongdoing. They get a hearing, which is called a skelly. So that's an informal meeting between not the hiring authority, but someone else in executive management of some sort, in which that employee is able to respond to all of the charges. It is not an evidentiary hearing, so they get to respond to all of the charges. That Skelly officer then gets to look at the packet of discipline that was provided, weigh it along with whatever the employee brought forward, and make a decision if they want to uphold the termination or discipline, whatever it is, because you would take it for a suspension or termination, or if they want to lessen it, or if they want to absolve it completely altogether. We've seen it done in all manners. Let's just say an employee is terminated. Those that belong to the management group, they have arbitration. So the city fronts the costs. We go to an arbitrator who is a third party, and that is a hearing. They are able to bring forward witnesses, evidence, etc. Once that is done, if they don't like the answers to that, they are then able to appeal to the personnel board, because the arbitrator is advisory to the personnel board in the city, not binding. So then they bring it to the personnel board. Personnel board has a full hearing in which it's closed session, and they're able to, I believe it's closed session, they're able to hear the employee out, bring witnesses. They can subpoena people to come in from the city to hear out their case. Then they make a decision, and that is advisory finally to the city manager. So there are several steps if an employee chooses to exhaust them.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we get to the next question, I want to do a quick time check. We're approaching 6 o'clock. I want to remind everybody I have established a hard stop at 6:10. All right. Commissioner Holbrook.
What are the requirements, the qualifications for the personnel board, since you say they're not in the charter? What are their requirements?
Be a registered voter and they fill out an application like all other commissioners do, and then they're selected by the council.
You have a follow-up question?
Yes. How can they get recommendations when that's all the qualifications that they need?
I have no selection. I have no bearing on the selection of them. I just train them to the best that I can, and I also bring in a labor attorney to teach them the personnel rules and regs and all of the hearings that they're responsible, and in any MMBA requirements that they need to be made aware of, and then we essentially hope for the best. So far, I have a good personnel board, so don't go changing them. But that is the process as it is now, ma'am.
Are there term
All right,
limits?
thank you.
One more time.
Okay. Ms. Holbrook, we're going to circle back to you with that question. Commissioner Gideon, did you have a question? I can't hear you. You pass. Okay. Commissioner Lister?
Commissioner Lister, so because of the complexities of what the personnel board does, especially in the case of appeals of termination and whatnot, are they sworn to confidentiality agreements or things of that matter once they get sworn in?
At the time of those hearings, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Holbrook, you had a follow-up question?
Follow-up question. Are there term limits on the personnel board?
4 years. But they have a 4-year term. I don't think that they necessarily can have to be removed after 4 years. I think they can serve in perpetuity. They serve at the will of the council. So
there's no term limit?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Quinteros.
Thank you. So if you look at section 1100 on the charter civil service, all of this is controlled by state law, and or do we develop our civil service regulations? I guess that may go to both council and to Mr. TJ, sorry.
So we can set our own classified service. So for example, the state doesn't determine who is unclassified and who is classified. The city can determine that. There's a separate set of government laws that we refer to as the Myers-Milius-Brown Act. We call it the MMBA for labor. It's California Government Code, Section 3500. I think it runs through 3520 or so. That kind of outlines how we have to deal with employees, how we have to deal with the unions, what rights they have. There's a governing board, which is called PERB, Public Employees Relations Board, that also governs the oversight of those things. So we set forth how we see these things. I will say if there's a desire to change this is a meet and confer topic. So we can't unilaterally make a change to the charter or even put it on the ballot, if I'm not mistaken, without actually meeting with the unions. That would serve as what we call an unfair labor practice charge, a ULP, is where we have not met and conferred with the union to ask those questions and made a decision without their input, in which they can sue the city and we'd be on the hook for that.
Got it. And my follow-up, as far as the personnel board, is that directed by, it's kind of the same question, is that directed by the charter or is that also under state purview?
No, so 1100 is what starts to, I believe it's 700 that starts to outline some of the things that the personnel board, 1010. So personnel board duties, that gives the general, and then we have a personnel handbook that we maintain that is from 1979 that we're updating. So,
Commissioner Quinteros, you're about to ask another question. We'll circle back to you. You can just hold that. I want to go to Commissioner Baker.
Thank you, sir. My question is, I think dispelling what I found, I guess perhaps an urban legend within Compton, there is no set, I don't believe it's listed in the charter, there is no set kind of succession plan of if the city manager should depart, then the fire chief is next in line to take that position. Is that an actual thing, or is that just an urban legend?
If you look in your municipal code, if the city manager is to fall ill, he can promote an assistant city manager into his seat in his absence. If his absence is to extend past, I believe, 3 months, the council has the power to then appoint a city manager. Back in the early 2020s, I believe there was a decision, there's a resolution that put the fire chief in the succession plan in the event that the city manager was unavailable, but that is not hard-coded in the charter, and it's the municipal code that gives the power to the ACMs in the absence of a city manager.
And you say it's a resolution, but that's not something that's set in stone that the city has to follow.
No, sir. The municipal code is what actually sets that in stone.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Quinteros.
Thank you. As far as 1010, if 1010 conflicts with the personnel binder that you mentioned that was developed in the 70s, if they conflict, which one controls?
The charter is the controlling document, so it can't conflict. We build everything off of the charter.
As far as the personnel board?
As far as the personnel rules are concerned, yes.
Thank you.
All right, let's do a quick time check. It's 6:03. We have a hard stop at 6:10. Any other questions for the HR director?
One more.
Commissioner Baker.
Thank you, sir. Another question. So we don't have a chief of police. We contract with the LA County Sheriff. Who's the person that's responsible for, I guess, the oversight and checks and balances to, ensure that the sheriff are doing what we contract them to do?
Originally, it was solely the city manager, and he could solicit help if he desired. Recently, in the past 2 to 3 months, we've changed our community improvement department to a public safety. And the director of public safety, in his job specs, it's his job to meet with the sheriff department to hold them accountable and look at those metrics along with the city manager. Before you ask your next question,
yes.
In the municipal code, chapter 2, article 2 under city officers 2-2.5, acting city manager, that's where it discusses who sits in the city manager's seat if he's not available.
Thank you. Commissioner Lister.
So, based on your knowledge, oh, sorry, Commissioner Lister, based on your knowledge, has the city of Compton, can you hear me?
It's a little muffled, but I'm good.
Is that better? Has the city of Compton ever had a civilian oversight committee or something of that matter where a committee met with the sheriff's officials quarterly or once a month to give a regular type of update similar to the LAPD
Police, the Civilian Oversight
whatnot.
Commission.
And, I'm sorry to cut you off. And the reason why I asked that, because how would residents ever know what the interaction between the city and the sheriff's department is as far as regular updates on crime stats or whatever, if they wanted to come and speak to those type of individuals in a setting like this?
I would say that would be the Public Safety Commission, if that was my best guess. I haven't attended one of those meetings, but that would be my best guess if we did have something similar. I'm very familiar with what you're discussing.
Commissioner Butler?
Vice Butler, can you repeat the municipal code that you just said?
It's in Chapter 2 under Administration, Article 2, City Officers. So it's 2-2.5. It's called Acting City Manager, and it was added by Ordinance Number 1335.
All right, we have 4 more minutes. Anyone else? Commissioner Baker.
And this may sound like an ignorant question, but do we currently have a director of public safety?
Yes.
Okay. And how long has that position been in existence?
That position just came into existence in the last couple of months. It used to be the Community Improvement Director, and it transitioned into the Public Safety Department.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Quinteros.
Do we currently have, outside of the sheriffs, do we currently have city employed sworn peace officers?
No.
Okay, I thought so. Thank you.
All right, we have 3 more minutes. Does anyone have any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Baker. Excuse me.
I just
Butler.
want to say thank you so much. I mean, you were very clear, very straight to the point. I think you answered hopefully all the committee's questions, so I really appreciate you taking your time to come out and speak to us. So thank you very, very much.
Absolutely, anytime.
Commissioner Lister.
So I'm going to put you on the spotlight for a hot second. If you could make a suggestion to the committee of something you think that the charter is maybe silent on that would help the Human Resources Department or whatnot, what would that be?
That's a good question. What have I always wanted? I live here too, so I'm always like, what do I want kind of tweaked out of that charter? Honestly, on a base level, just want it modernized. There are a lot of rules that have changed, even on a personnel standpoint, in those 50 years since this one was written. We do our best to work in the confines of the charter. It does hamstring us on certain occasions. So I appreciate you guys' efforts to try to modernize it, try to keep us in mind when you want to make any type of personnel changes. If I need to come back and offer some feedback, if the attorney isn't present to offer best practice, I'm more than willing to come forward. But no, just any efforts to modernize it, to make it a little easier. Honestly, for our department, it's the rules and regs. So we have to base the rules and regulations off of the charter. So we have to be mindful. We actually are rewriting the personnel rules and regs. We're about to send that out to the unions to meet and confer. We hope that the charter doesn't change too much on the personnel aspect. Otherwise, we have to rewrite it. But if we need to, we need to. So when you guys get to those sections, I may come back and sit in and offer some feedback then. Absolutely.
All right, so we're approaching 6:10, so I want to thank you, Director, for your time, your service to the city. Thank you for being patient and willing to come after hours. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You guys,
Great job, young man.
All right. So let's move on to our other agenda items. We're moving into item number 3. Again, recap where we left off last time. We finished section 700. So we're moving in sequence. As you all know, most of you have been on this journey with us. We're moving in sequence. So if you do not have a charter in front of you, after 700 would be section 800. Per the charter, that entire section was previously deleted. After 800 would be section 900. Per the charter, section 900 was deleted, and now that brings us to section 1000. The same protocols previously established, we have already met previously and decided which items are going to be a kept item, which items we were going to hold over for further discussion. All right, so let me go to my table. Everybody has an updated table just to keep us on track. Okay, so I'm going to call out the section and the title of the section, and we will open up for discussion. Section 1000 in general, open for discussion. Commissioner, okay, Commissioner Quinteros.
Thank you. So this one, Section 1000 specifically states a few of the boards that need to exist: planning, personnel, and recreation, and parks. I would add the charter committee to be listed as being required to exist. I don't think it needs to be every year, but maybe every 4 years for 2 years or to get it done. I don't think the charter is something that needs to get changed every year, but it does need to get revisited at a regular basis that we can come up with. But I do think the charter committee should be listed as being one of the required committees to exist.
Commissioner Quinteros, just clarify for me, just for the record. So your recommendation is that a charter committee remain in existence for a specified period of time, or what are you recommending?
That the charter committee board be added as one of the enumerated boards in section 1000, because I think that makes it mean that it needs to exist, right? It has to exist. And under the specs of the charter committee that would be added would be for it to be established and the charter be reviewed, and you guys can help me out on this, on a regular basis, maybe every 4 years or something like that. Again, I don't think that it's wise to change or be open to change the charter every year, because that's just too much of a process and too many changes. But maybe every 10 years, every 4 years, time has gone by, things has changed, and it's time to review the charter again.
Okay, understood. Commissioner Lister.
Commissioner Lister, I was going to suggest the same thing as far as in
Can you speak a little louder? Just a little louder.
Can you hear me? Is this better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sure. I was going to make the same suggestion on a level that Commissioner Quinteros said, as far as in section 1000, actually put in there the city charter committee, and then maybe in between section 1007 and 1011, where they mention out the roles or functions of the respective committees, put a section in there for the city charter committee that says the city charter committee should meet no less frequently than every 10 years, no more frequently than every 5 years, and maybe put language in there that says that they must be formed for a 16-month period or a time frame, because when you don't specify a certain, if we were not to specify a certain defined time period, future committees would be in the same bind we're in right now, where we're trying to rush through and do a good job. But if we put that section in there with language that said that this committee must be in place for at least 12 months, then they don't have to rush through everything. And then we can put parts in there that specify community involvement, set meetings, or things of that nature, so that we can do a better job of incorporating. I'm not sure in how much of a detail we want to put in there as far as training individuals up, committee members or whatnot, going on some of the things that the public has said, some of the things that Commissioner Gideon has said that are very well stated because we're working in the same position that the previous charter committee worked in. We don't know the challenges that they face. They did some good work, but then 5 years later, there's no real historical knowledge beyond the public. Commissioner Gideon, I believe Commissioner Holbrook. So my recommendation is what Commissioner Quintero said as far as in Section 1000, specifically mentioning the Charter Committee in that section, and then later on in this section, list out the duties and roles and how the Charter Committee should operate.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Anyone else in Section 1000? Commissioner Holbrook?
Okay. I've been researching and it says the charter should be viewed every 5 years.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Baker?
I would also like to add the Public Safety Commission to that as well. I think, that's such a very important, or can be such a very important commission that can add some accountability, some further checks and balances, some community input, and I think that would be very beneficial to the city.
Commissioner Quinteros?
Thank you. I had a question for the assistant city manager. The safety committee, is the chair, is that a hired position, or is that a board that gets appointed like us?
Thank you, Tamara Benz, Assistant City Manager. So all of the commissions and the boards are appointed by the City Council.
So the person that TJ mentioned that oversees the sheriffs?
So that's a staff liaison. I'm sorry to cut you off, Commissioner. So there's a staff liaison. So I'm the staff liaison according to the resolution for this commission. So the now Public Safety Director is the staff person assigned to that commission. And earlier this afternoon, and for the good of the listening body, I did email all members of the board a copy of the MADI Act. The MADI Act is not the Brown Act, but the MADI Act is a list of all appointed boards and the commissions for all cities and municipalities. So it's available to the public online on the city clerk website, and it does list that our public safety director is the staff person who oversees and chairs that commission. I hope that answered your question, sorry.
No, it does.
Okay.
Very much so, thanks. So just going with Commissioner Baker's point, I would say we need to include the Public Safety Commission, since that's a commission that sounds like it needs to now exist the entire time. And also in their list that the liaison is that position that's been formed and filled for that.
Say that last part.
That the staff liaison has to be the director of public safety that's been created and filled, because that job spec specifically for that commission, correct? Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Baker?
Yes, thank you. It's for the Assistant City Manager. So just for clarity, the Director of Public Safety chairs the Public Safety Commission, or are they the liaison for the Public Safety Commission?
Tamara Benz. The Director of Public Safety is the staff assistant liaison. They are not the chair. The chair, just like this chair, is Chair Griffin.
Okay.
That person who chairs any board is selected by the City Council, is appointed by the City Council, and then the Public Safety Commission, just like this group did, they get together at one of their meetings, I believe around the first of the year, once they have new members, and then they vote as a group who's going to chair and also serve as the vice chair. But for nomenclature terms, the chair is appointed by the City Council. The staff liaison is a civil servant.
Right. Okay. Just wanted clarity with that, because I think I'm not sure if you said it, or if I just heard it correctly, that individual chaired the committee. But now you provided clarity on that. So thank you.
All right, Commissioner Marquez.
This is directed to council. I wanted clarity on 1000 to 1012. It specifies the 3 committees and then it goes on to give a bunch of do's and don'ts from 1,000 to 1,012. And then in 1,000, it states when the council wants to create such commissions by ordinance, if anything is not specified in the ordinance when the commission is created, do they all have to follow these do's and don'ts from 1,000 to 1,012?
Thank you for your question. If you'd give me just a second to look at the text
Sure.
you're referring to.
And then,
And then we could report back on that once we've kind
yes,
of
and
reviewed
then
it all.
so you won't be all over the place. My thing is on section 1,009. It directs, or it's stating that no commission can run for no elected office until 1 year from vacant from their seat. And that's my question. Does that apply to every commission? If not stated when it was created by ordinance, when the commission was created?
For my clarification, sir, which section had their
It's
preclusion number?
1,009.
Okay.
10,009.
And you're drawing a nexus to the section we're on, right? Section 1,000.
Yes,
Okay.
because it goes from
It goes
1,000 to 1,012, and then it gives you do's and don'ts as you're reading it. It
Okay.
tells you what commission can do this, what commission can't do that.
Okay. I just
And
want to be clear,
wanted
we're in
clarity.
section 1,000, but your question
Yes.
ties back to section 1,000.
9, yes.
Okay.
10,009, yes.
Okay, Commissioner Baker? While we're waiting, I want to give respect to our council. Do you want us to pause, or you want us to come back to you?
If you would just give me a second so I
Yes,
can make
most
sure that
definitely. Take
I'm
your time.
reading the appropriate section cited before I provide any opinion, I would appreciate that to see if it's something I can answer tonight or something that we would need to report back to your body on at a later date.
Okay. I think you want to.
Oh, yes, so
Oh, we can move.
proceed,
Okay.
and then if I am able
Understood.
to provide a response, I'll interject
You let
at
us know.
appropriate time, and if I'm not, we'll
Report back
coordinate
later.
with the assistant city manager to report back to your body at a future meeting.
Okay, understood. Commissioner Baker.
Yes, sir. I would like some insight from, I guess, my fellow commissioners on if the Recreation and Parks Commission, on if we feel that that's still important enough to be listed within the city charter, like it's mandated that we have to have that. I'm not exactly sure on what all they do, so I don't want to, diminish the role that they play in the city. But if anybody else knows exactly what they're doing and how important they are, then if you can express that, I'd appreciate it.
All right, Commissioner Lister.
Commissioner Lister, Commissioner Baker, that's an interesting question. I remember some years ago, back when Mayor Brown was the mayor. I'm not sure if it was the first term or her second term, but something transpired where all the commissions that had been listed in a charter, most of them were taken away, except for the ones that we have right now that were specifically left in the charter. So maybe someone in the city clerk's office, or maybe there's some resolution somewhere that can be pulled up to identify why other commissions were taken out and some were left behind. Because I know in prior years, the Public Safety Committee was in the charter, or there was somewhere that formalized it. But it was reduced down to the ones that were specified now. And for whatever reason, recreation was left in there. I don't know, personally, I don't know what committees should be in there or should not be in there, outside of the ones that sound like big ones. You would think personnel would need to be in there. You would think planning should be in there. You would think public safety should be in there, because those are some big time committees. While not trying to minimize the Committee on Aging, does that impact the number of residents the way a public safety committee would be in there. So maybe recreation was left in there because of the number of people that type of committee, in theory, might impact. But that's a great question, and maybe someone can report back to us to let us know.
Okay. Commissioner Holbrook.
I've been reading about the importance of the parks and recreations. It says they advise the council or board on the acquisition of land, design of new facilities, and fund future priorities for budgeting. So they are very important to the city as far as your parks, and they are community activists also.
Commissioner Baker.
And thank you. Is that listed somewhere? Is that listed within there?
That's listed. I think that's in the municipal code because it says it provides accessible spaces for physical activity, sports, and community gathering. So that's in your municipal code. Yes.
But does it also list the community activism and the acquisition of land? Does it, because that seemed like that might fall in under a different department.
Well, that's what the Parks and Recreation do.
So let me just jump in. So your question, Commissioner Baker, was I guess the relevance and the purpose of this particular commission being listed?
Yes, sir. My question was the relevance and the purpose, and I guess if anyone can opine and provide some insight on why it was listed, because there aren't many commissions listed in the charter, so I wanted to know what kind of led to that. But I guess if I had to make a recommendation, I would recommend that we remove the Recreation and Parks Commission from this section of the city charter.
They're gonna.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Holbrook.
It says commission is an advisory board to a local government.
Is your mic on?
I'm sorry. It's an advisory board to a local government dedicated to enhancing community quality of life. They shape public policy by assessing recreation needs, managing parks and rec facilities. So I don't see why you want to take away the parks and recreation part, which is vital to the city because we don't have that many parks.
Okay.
So this part is vital, and the only three you have is personnel, planning, and recreation.
Okay. So again, it's just a recommendation. We haven't even voted on it. He just raised a recommendation. All right, Commissioner Marquez.
Commissioner Marquez, I also agree with Commissioner Holbrook. Park and Recs really focuses on our youth. It's very important. Green spaces are very important. So to me, that's a very vital commission, whether they're doing work now or not. But I think we should leave that in there. It brings communities together, in other words. So we need to leave that in section 1000.
Okay. Commissioner Baker.
Thank you. And just final thought on my behalf. And thank you, Commissioner Marquez and Commissioner Holbrook. Commissioner Holbrook, is that, are you referencing like a municipal code, or are you referencing, something? Can you provide the code that you're referencing, that you're reading from, as far as what that particular commission does?
I don't have the code now, but I can get it for you.
Okay.
But it's in the municipal code regarding parks and recreations. Because what happened, when Mayor Brown was here, she separated them. She separated the parks from recreation. So now we just have, I think the parks are under public works and recreation is under recreations. But the parks and recreations are vital to this city. Because like you say, we have no green space.
I understand. Is the commission vital to the city, though? I get that. I totally understand. I was a kid.
So,
I was a
Commissioner
kid
Baker,
in Compton.
Commissioner
at the
Baker,
Parks and
Commissioner Baker,
Recreation.
can you hold 1 second? You've made a recommendation for it to be removed. We have your recommendation. Is there anything else as far as a recommendation?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. We're still in section 1000. Any other thing to discuss for section 1000? Okay. I'll try my best, but the record will stand. It's playing in the background, but I'd like to give recaps for our listening audience. So there was a lot of things brought up for section 1000. One recommendation was to remove Parks and Rec. Another recommendation was to keep it. We also had a recommendation to add the charter committee Review Board to Section 1000. In addition to adding the charter review, there was a recommendation that the charter review have a review or evaluatory process. The timeline, one recommendation was 4 years, one was 5, one was 10 years. We also had a recommendation to add the Public Safety Commission into Section 1000. And there was a recommendation about the staff liaison position and their duties being added in there as well. All right. Yes. Commissioner
Before I
Lister.
speak, I believe Commissioner
Oh, I'm
Marquez
so
had a
sorry.
comment.
Commissioner
I'm
Marquez.
sorry, Chair. Just one last thing. This is more addressed to staff. 1003. Can we get some insight on what that was and why it was removed in 2009?
We're not there yet, Commissioner Marquez?
No, it's section 1003. So we're up around 1000. It's right
Chair.
where.
We're still in Section 1000, sir.
Oh, okay.
Okay? We're almost there, though. Almost there. Can you just hold that comment? Yes. Commissioner Lister.
Commissioner Lister, you had mentioned there was a recommendation for 10 years. Actually, my recommendation was no less than 5, no more than 10. It wasn't 10 specifically.
Okay.
All right.
And
Thank you.
again, I want to be really clear. My recap, it's just a very informal recap. It's being recorded in real time, so that will be the record, not mine. Okay? All right. Section 1001. That, according to what we previously discussed, that was a kept item. Pause. Okay. Section 1002. Yes, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Quinteros.
Yeah, sorry, just for 1001, I would add language,
Well, hold on. Before we discuss that, we need to take a vote because that was a kept item. So if you want to bring
I
it back to
apologize.
life, no issues, no worries. You can put a motion to bring Section 1001 over to discussion.
yes, I apologize. I would like to make that motion to bring it back for discussion.
Okay? Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, so ordered. And then we'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren, Chairman Griffin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Butler,
Yes.
Chairman Holbrook,
Yes.
Chairman Marquez,
Yes.
Chairman Gideon,
Yes.
Chairman Gutierrez.
Yes.
Motion unanimous, pass.
All right, so you all will get a revised table. In your next table, it will show that Section 1001, we previously voted to keep it as is, and we have now voted today to open it up for discussion. All right, so we're now Section 1001, appropriations, open for discussion. Commissioner Quinteros.
Yes, and sorry for this, guys. I just rereading it. I would like to add just the language and equipment after the funds. So right now it currently reads, the city council shall include in its annual budget sufficient appropriations of funds for the efficient and proper functioning. I would add funds and equipment for each commission, if that makes sense. Just because we have the funding doesn't mean we have the equipment. Just because we have equipment, maybe we don't need certain funding. But again, the fact that we don't have a computer and a projector appropriated for this commission has been kind of the reason for this.
Okay, understood. Anyone else? We're in Section 1001, appropriations. Okay. Again, just a real quick informal recap. We have one recommendation for Section 1001 to add to. It's short enough where I can just read it. It currently reads, the City Council shall include in its annual budget sufficient appropriations of funds. Recommendation is to add language that says, and equipment for each commission for the efficient and proper functioning of such boards and commissions. All right. Moving on to Section 1002, appointments, terms, open for discussion. I'm going to refer to Secretary. Do you happen to have your notes in terms of who, maybe we can jog their memory, who ask that this be a discussion item?
Commissioner Lister, I know for me, the note I wrote for myself was to.
It's okay. Can you speak up a little louder?
Jesus. I know, Commissioner Lister, I know for myself, the only comment I wrote down for myself when I asked to have it held was just from a grammatical standpoint.
Okay, so grammar.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood.
And I may have been the only person who asked it to be held for that reason.
Could you be specific about grammar?
So just in the third sentence, where it says by at least 4, just put the number 4 in paren.
To put what?
Put the number 4 in paren.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Commissioner Quinteros.
I would add that specifically to the second paragraph. I have been trying to read it for a while right now, and I don't understand what it means. I think that affects this commission, actually, especially since we were all appointed or started at the same time. I think term limits and all of that get discussed here, but it cannot make sense as to what it's saying for our term limits. Also, just add clarification, because it says appointments and terms, and it's talking about such boards. So Section 1000 lists the 3 boards that need to be required, but it gives the council the ability to establish other boards as it sees fit. So does 1002 apply to those created boards such as us? Because if that's the case, we're all here for a 4-year term. And so I don't think there's clarity as to what these time limits. Is it for just the 3 boards that are enumerated, or is it just all boards, or do they have the power to have different term limits and time limits for each board they create?
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lister.
Commissioner Lister, when I read this, and I'm thinking from a historical standpoint, I'm thinking there probably was a time where the city appointed commissioners across the board every July. And then they had, like, some would be July 1st, 2000. And then others would be July 1st, 2001. So when it came time to replace somebody or extend them, you always had members in place. And then as time has gone on and members have dropped off or resigned and the seats got filled, now you have people that were appointed in October of a year or in November of a year. We have 2 spots that are vacant right now that if they were to fill them, they wouldn't have the same start date as ourselves. So maybe that section may need to be rewritten, because not everyone has a start date of July 1st. And we see how long it could take council to fill a seat or get someone that takes it when council says, would you be interested? And so I kind of understand what you're saying, Commissioner Quinteros, and maybe we should just change the language to clean it up.
Okay. Commissioner Gideon, and then Vice Butler.
Yes. And in terms of appointments, I think there should be some qualifications for people who serve on the board, and that did happen with the Charter Committee, because I know I've seen council meetings where people say, whoever, place me wherever I can serve, but you need to have some qualifications for the board, I think, for which you're applying.
Okay. Commissioner Butler.
Vice Butler, would it sound like maybe we should take that information out, that whole part, from starting that second part, and maybe, again, bullet point each particular commission and then put in the terms instead of it, because some commissions start, say maybe the first or the second, but probably take that out because it is conflicting with the information that's there. So maybe, probably spell out all the different commissions that are there and maybe put the terms like in parentheses. For example, if it was the Charter Committee and it had 2-year term, or if it's, was it the planning, it only has 4-year terms. Instead of putting all of this information, it's very wordy. So I think that maybe cleaning it up and maybe just adding each of the commissions with the terms on there.
Okay, understood. Commissioner Holbrook.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when they start because you have people like we have here. People have resigned, so you can't go in there and say everybody's going to start at the same time. You can't do that. Some people, like we have one who resigned here, she comes in later than us. So you can't go in there and say, forget that, you can't use these term limits. My question is, how many terms can you do on a commission? I've known people to be on a commission for 20 years, the same commission. That's my question.
And I want to be clear, that's your question, that's not your recommendation.
It's my recommendation to how many terms do you serve? It says it has a term limit, but how many do you serve? Like I say, I do know that people have been on certain boards almost 20 years.
So your recommendation is term limits for commissioners.
It says term limits, but I want to know how much term limits. 4
Okay.
years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, or what?
Okay, so that's a question. Ms. Tamara will get back to us unless you have a response today. No? Okay, she'll get back to us. All right. Anything else for section 1002? Yes, Commissioner Baker.
Yes, I agree with Vice Chair Butler that that whole paragraph, the whole second paragraph, really needs to be rewritten and kind of laid out, because I think the challenge is, although it may be even more challenging for every commission to start at the same time. However, what we have is that some commissions seem to have never really started, where they've actually selected individuals and they haven't really had many meetings, or they haven't had a quorum. So I think there needs to be something in place there as well. Or when City Council creates those commissions, then they need to outline it in that and say that if they don't begin meeting, if they don't have their first meeting by a certain date, then they're not going to go through with the commission. I think that might put more pressure and more onus on those individuals to actually begin the meetings and to make sure that they're maintaining a quorum. And, if those commissions are really important enough, for them for the City Council to recommend them, and people sign up for them, then I think that they need to actually attend and meet.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Lister.
Commissioner Lister, I think we kind of, when I'm hearing things, I'm kind of getting thrown up a little bit. I do hear and understand and support what Commissioner Holbrook is saying as far as that it should be some type of term limits where you serve in a commission and you can't serve more than 2 terms or 3 terms or whatever we agree on. Having everybody start and end at the same time fundamentally makes 0 sense. I'm going to give you an example. Our city council doesn't start at the same time. There's a 2-year gap in there. In the House of Representatives, there's a gap in there because you never want to go ahead and start a brand new committee with no experience and no historical input, and then electing a chair, a vice chair. But when you have that kind of overlap, as long as we know that a person can serve no more than 4 terms, doesn't matter when they start. Just tracking, when did Rodney start? Okay, he started there, you got 4 years. Okay, if it's 4 years up, you got 4 more years. That's 2 terms, you're gone. Thank you for your service. Or if I step away and they bring somebody brand new. So I'm not in favor, if I'm hearing that having everyone on committee start at the same time, I don't think that makes any sense, but I do believe that we should spell out terms, how long the term is, be it 2 years or 4 years, and how many terms they can serve, be it 2 or 3.
Okay. Commissioner Holbrook and Marquez after you.
Okay, I'm looking at the Matty Act. Okay, I'm looking at the beautification. Some started in February, some started in March, April, and September. So you cannot say that all start at the same time because there will not be a vacancy all at the same time.
Commissioner Marquez.
Commissioner Marquez, I think we need to take into consideration that there's an ordinance for each commission, so that ordinance will spell everything out and it'll make more sense as you're reading the ordinance. So my recommendation is just to leave it alone.
Okay. Commissioner Quinteros.
And I guess that's my confusion, because the city charter specifies the terms for commissions. So now if there is a resolution that's specifying something different, which one controls? I think that needs to be clarified. Number two, I don't think paragraph 2 is talking about when it starts. It's talking about when it ends. And it's talking about, it makes a distinction between a board that's already been around, I'm assuming before this charter was, before we were a charter city, and one like ours when everyone's appointed at the same time. The idea behind what it looks like, and I'm just trying to share this for what I think is maybe clarity in my understanding of it, is the idea that in our board, because we all started at the same time, we're gonna get, according to this, my understanding of it, and maybe council can see what he thinks, but that we're going to get kicked off one by one every July 1st. Every July 1st, there's going to be someone who gets kicked off and someone else gets appointed, and then it becomes this revolving regular term. There are no term limits from what I can see. I'm fine with that recommendation. Let's add term limits, but I think paragraph 2 is just saying there is a rotation base where at least, and it says at least one person needs to get removed from each committee every July 1st.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Holbrook?
Okay, I don't see that one person has to be kicked off. It's coming to the amount of time you have on there. Commissions have 4 years. If you look at the MATI Act, it have 4 years. And after your 4 years are up, then somebody else comes in, but you just don't get kicked off the next year.
And before you respond, I think that question was asked, and Ms. Benz is already going to be researching and giving us clarification on it, so we don't have to belabor that particular point. Can we move on to something else? Anything else in this particular section? Commissioner Baker.
Yes, sir. I guess with all of that being said, my recommendation is that the terms of commissions are only for a year, and that every year in July they elect new commissioners, or they can elect the same, or not elect, excuse me, they appoint new commissioners, or they appoint the same commissioners. You know, I think that's my recommendation. So if you know, you guys can make others, but that's my recommendation.
So just to be clear, every year a new commission is formed? Every year?
Every year, the appointment of commissioners is done in July.
Okay.
Every year, you know, the appointment of new commissioners is done in July to begin July 1st. Excuse me, to begin August 1st.
Okay, understood. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else?
And I'm sorry, and for clarity, you can get reappointed. You don't have to, you can get reappointed after a year, but I guess you do the process after every year, because I am in agreement that some folks have been sitting on these commissions and committees for a long time.
Okay, understood. All right. All right, so looks like there was a lot. And again, the official record will be the official record. My informal recap for section 1002. In the first paragraph, it spells out the word for, F-O-U-R, meaning for affirmative votes. Recommendation is to update the grammar to enumerate that with the number 4. Let's see. For the second paragraph in section 102, a lot of comments about spelling out. There was questions or recommendations to spell out each charter specifically, to include the term, also to include like the specifications for each charter. Also, there was recommendations about the qualifications for each board being spelled out here. What are the qualifications to get on these different boards and commissions? A lot of discussion about term limits. One specifically is starting every July 1st, and every year There will be a new vetting process for new members, and existing members can vet for their previous commissions. And there was a recommendation about timing, meaning all commissions to start at the same time to go on the same cycle. All right. All right. Moving on into section 104. 1003 is a deleted item from the charter. Just want to go in sequence for our listening audience. 1004 was a kept item. Want to just pause to see if anyone has a change of opinion with that being a kept item. 1004. If not, that will remain. All right, we're moving now into section 1005. Compensation and vacancies. Open for discussion. Yes, Commissioner.
Chair, I wanted to go back to 1003. I know that Commissioner Marquez was just asking Assistant City Manager if she can give us some information for 1003. Just wanted to add that on there.
1003 is deleted.
Yes, but he would like to have some information of exactly what it was before it got deleted.
Let's go back to Commissioner Marquez. Marquez, can you present your question, comment, concern?
Yes, if we can get some insight on why it was, what was the grammar in 1003 and
Okay.
why it was
Why was it deleted?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe we can consider putting it back on here if it was something that's
okay.
Addressing maybe nepotism, cronism, something of that nature.
All right.
Thank
So that
you.
question's been fielded out to Ms. Tamara Benz. Okay, so we are back at section 1005, compensation and vacancies. A lot of these questions in this section may or may not have already been answered by the HR director. And a lot of questions that you do have, I'm hoping you fielded already to the HR director, but if not, open for discussion, section 1005, compensation and vacancies. Open for discussion. Commissioner Baker?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that would be something for the HR director. I think that would be something, I guess, for council and for assistant city manager. But I guess, for clarification, commissioners serve at the pleasure of city council. So at any point, city council can remove a commissioner or dissolve a commission, except for those three that are listed within the city charter. Am I correct?
That would take Tamara Benz, Commissioner Baker, not as simple as at any point in time. There would have to be a motion on the floor for the council to bring that. If there is a reason for the legislative body to take that action, that would have to be taken to the public, open staff report, and then there would have to be a substantial reason to dissolve it if it's not already written in the ordinance that created it, because there's an ordinance and then you also have a civil servant staff liaison that's also serving to work with that commission. So it is absolutely technically possible, but it would be pretty substantive for that to happen. That wouldn't happen overnight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Butler?
Vice Butler, I have a question, Tamara, before you leave. Sorry. How are each of the commissions, who determine how they get paid? That was one question that I had a question in regards. Is that a council or how does that work?
Thank you very much, Vice Butler. So each of the compensations for the boards and the commissions are approved and adopted by the City Council. So each of the commissions that are listed on the MATI Act, they all have different compensations, and the compensation is approved by the legislative body, which is spelled out in every resolution that's created every board listed on the MATI Act.
Commissioner Lister?
Commissioner Lister, and kind of piggybacking off of what staff just said, it also depends on the department that brings the ordinance forward and what that department feels they want to pay their commissioners. So there is a committee that gets paid as little as $20. I'm not sure when that committee was originally formed and what the rationale for that was. And then you have a committee that is paid as high as $150. So there is no quote-unquote uniformity. It comes down to what that particular department feels is fair to pay the commissioners that sit on that committee that their department is attached to. So a better request or request might be, is it possible for staff to let us know what the various commissioners make on the various committees so we can see the wide range out there, and then maybe if we want to go ahead and establish a fair baseline, we could put that in the charter, or we feel that every department should be allowed to establish its own compensation schedule. But at least we have a dollar figure to look at.
And just for clarity, Commissioner, that's a question that you're posing. That's not a recommendation.
Yes, a question for staff, if possible.
Understood. Question to find out how much each board makes and then establish a baseline for equity. Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Quinteros.
Just to edit it out and make it make the headers clearer, if we look at, it's called compensations and vacancies. The first paragraph covers compensation. Vacancies are only covered by the first sentence. Any vacancy is filled by appointment of the City Council. Everything that follows from the second sentence and on is just removal. So I would add a subheading removal to make it clear. That's not a how to fill a vacancy or anything. So it's under a right header.
A subheading entitled, what was that?
Removal of commission member.
Understood. Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Baker.
And again, for clarity, this is a question for legal counsel. Does all of this pertain to any commission or committee that's created, or is this only for the specific 3 that are outlined in the city charter?
With respect to the first paragraph, that appears to be limited to the Planning Commission, Personnel Board, Recreation and Parks Commission. With respect to the second paragraph, I can include that in the work that I'll be doing, that we can do with Ms. Binn's office to report back with respect to the original question about how the general provisions apply to specific commissions.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Anything else in section 1005? Okay, so again, the official record will be the official record. Just informal recap. There's some questions that were sent to Ms. Benz, and one recommendation to add a subheading under section 105 entitled or something thereof, removal of the committee members. Okay, let me just do a time check. It is 7 o'clock, and we have to make some decisions. And here are the decisions, or here are the options. So we have some options to decide. So we have several things on the agenda, and as in the case with the HR director, I gave him a very specific time limit to give respect to the other items, to give all items equal value. We are clearly not going to finish section 1000 by 7:30. We have other items. So my question for the committee members, do you want to continue on as is and we finish where we finish at 7:30 in section 1000, or do you want to pivot and move on to the other items in hopes that we can get those items cleared?
You go first? Okay. I would like to move on to the next, move on to the next thing on the agenda.
Okay.
Commissioner Marquez, I'm also in agreement if we can table item 3 and move to 4 due to time constraints, and we need to get something on this ballot for November.
All right. So it sounds like we have some suggestions that we move on to the other items. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Can we do a roll call?
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren, Chairman Griffin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Harbrook,
Yes.
Commissioner Marquez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gideon,
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Okay, so
Motion
for
passes.
those of us who are online and those in the audience, what we're doing is we are going to continue back in section 3, or item 3 in section 1000 when we reconvene at our next meeting, and we're going to now move down to item 4 on the agenda. Item 4 is discussion, proposed charter amendments, term limits, and budget process. This was submitted by Commissioner Rodney Lister. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner
Can you
Lister.
speak louder, please? I know, I'm sorry.
No,
We hear
it's
you.
a microphone. Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Yep. How about now?
A little bit.
Now? I'm sorry. I'll try my best. So I requested this item a couple meetings ago,
Do you,
and
you want to get over there on that one? Probably be better. I'm going to have you just do it on that one. I think that better.
better?
Yes, much
Okay.
better.
Commissioner Lister, I requested this item a couple weeks ago, and about a week or so later, I asked it to be held to a future date. Budget process and term limits are something that, for me personally, I'm very invested in. The budget process in the city of Compton is always haphazard, oftentimes does not involve the community as far as meetings or outreach, things of that nature. So I looked at what other cities are doing, specifically the city of Pasadena, and I believe I pulled up the city of Long Beach maybe, where they have an actual budget process listed out in their charter, where they talk about community outreach meetings, the actual budget process within the city, and meeting dates and things of that nature. And I felt that that's something that worth a discussion at this level, as far as, do we want to request that this be included in a charter? It would not require a city council to go before the public to vote on that measure. This is something that maybe we could discuss to see what can we do to establish a process that encourages the public to participate, be it online, be it hard and fast set dates well in advance where the public knows, hey, next month there's going to be a meeting here in this district for the budget process. Something that outlines having departments actually present their budget in public and on some level defend it, so the public can see, why does recreation department need X amount of dollars, or why does public works need X amount of dollars? So that's why I brought that forward. In regards to term limits, I just feel that it's been a while since the city of Compton has had a 3-term elected official. I'm not sure if that can go back to Mayor Perrodin or someone of that nature. But my thinking is, as we are discussing compensation packages, or we will discuss compensation packages that might take the salaries up from $600 to whatever dollar figure. Well, what do we have in place that might encourage younger individuals who might want to run? Which means that we might come up with a figure that says we want to pay them, I believe Commissioner Butler in one of the early meetings said something as high as $3,000 a month or whatever. Well, if we're going to give people a substantial salary increase that might be considered something on the level of being a full-time job, then what do we have in place that says that this is not your forever job? As in the case of the city of Inglewood, where now their mayor is going on the 5th term, and residents are finally bringing forth a petition to put in term limits. In our neighboring city of Long Beach, the mayor can only serve 2 terms. Now, granted, his salary is $180,000 per year. I get that, but we do have jurisdictions around us that have term limits. So my consideration is, maybe that's something we should discuss. At the last city charter committee, they did bring forward term limits. I believe at that time, they only said 2 terms, 8 years. It didn't move. It did not move beyond that. But it's something that's worth discussing. That if we were to bring that type of item to council, would require a city council motion to put on the ballot as early as November. So that's why I asked to be on there.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. We have also item number 5, discussion grant program recommendation. This was submitted by Commissioner Gideon. Now, I didn't establish this with Commissioner Lister, but I do have to establish, we do have to have a time limit. If our goal is to get through the other items, I'm going to give everyone at least 3 minutes. So if you can use your 3 minutes wisely, that would be great. Commissioner Lister, if you can give us 3 minutes, thank you so much. Turn it over to Commissioner Gideon regarding the grant program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I distributed an email to each person regarding grant proposals, and I did it through research. And I found out that we are eligible for a federal grant. I did make the presentation at City Council last week, and I'm waiting for a response.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for the next item, item 6, we received several correspondence from members of our community. We received, and you all have copies of each. I'll start with the correspondence from Ms. Macon. I want to acknowledge that we did receive it and open up for, I don't know if Ms. Macon is here or she is online, but just open it up to see if anybody has any questions.
Vice Butler, I was just reading a lot of her recommendations. I think she has some really good recommendations for the city charter. So I would love to make sure that we as a committee, we look at it, and if there's anything that we need to bring back to the committee or anything that is very interesting for a committee, that they would speak. But she really was very detailed in how she wanted her recommendations. So just as a group, that we kind of look at it and see if this is something as a group that we would like to also integrate in some of the changes that are happening.
Okay, understood. We also received, and I want to acknowledge, correspondence from Mr. Gutierrez. You all have copies. You received it before, and you also received a hard copy today. Does anybody have any comment? Yes, Commissioner Lister.
Commissioner Lister, kind of piggybacking on what the Vice Chair said, I looked at the various correspondence from Ms. Macon, Mr. Gutierrez, Mr. Leon, Mr. Fisher, and some of the things that they mentioned are really good things to consider and even discuss. So with that being said, if a commissioner wanted to bring something forward that is mentioned in the correspondence to be discussed as a group, what would be that procedure? To email you and ask that something be placed on the agenda?
Repeat the question. You're saying if you as a commissioner wants to bring something?
Like, for example, some of the things that Mr. Gutierrez spoke on in his correspondence, I thought was very interesting.
Okay.
I felt that it was worthy of a discussion amongst us.
Okay.
If I wanted to do that in greater detail, would I submit something
Yes,
to the body?
you emailed the body. Yes,
Okay.
you emailed the body. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Thank you very much, Tamara Bench. Just one administrative item. There was public comment that mentioned a request to see all of the public correspondence listed. That will be listed on a forthcoming post. This item is listed as receive and file, so that's why all of the correspondence is not available to the public. But for the listening public and the members that are here in the chambers, all of the correspondence that has been received and will be received, of course, will be posted with a subsequent post on our city charter page. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, we also received, I want to acknowledge, the correspondence from Mr. Leon. Anybody have any other than what was already stated? Okay, and we also received correspondence from Mr. Fisher. Any additional comments? Okay. All right, so we are moving.
I have
Commissioner Baker.
I have a general comment. So what is the process when we receive correspondence from the citizens? They send it in, and then within the next meeting, we put it on the agenda and make it available to the public as well. Because I see some of these dates are from, I think Miss Cynthia's says May 12th, and another one, Mr. Leon is July 4th. So because a citizen did ask me that. So, okay, if I send something in, at what point are you guys, as far as the commissioners, or what point are we informed about it so that we can have time beforehand to review their comments? And then at one point, is it acknowledged within the meeting that they sent something in?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Baker. When items are submitted to myself or to the chair or vice chair or the secretary, I believe on all of the social media posts, it is my city email address that is listed. The vice chair has listed, I went back and watched the recordings at about 3 different meetings that correspondence had been received as early as June from members of the public, and the board did state that we would bring them back and agendize it. So for members of the public that are here in the chambers and listening, when you send in comments, we will absolutely share it with the governing body. It's just that we were trying to get through all of the tabled sections. So once it's listed on an agenda as it is this evening, we will absolutely share it with the public. Items, as Secretary Lister stated, if items are asked to be brought back as a discussion item, we will share all of the comments, but we will be very transparent. So if anyone has submitted an item, I've even checked my spam folder to make sure that I've captured them all, but we will absolutely always bring them back. It just has to be agendized for us to get to that public correspondence topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on into, we're doing good for time, moving on into public comments. This is non-agenda items, 1 minute. Please announce your name.
Villanueva, District 2. As you guys were talking about the commissions, I think it's very important to put rules of decorum and ways that we could keep our commissioners accountable. In the past, or last year, we had one commissioner that he broke various rules regarding calling federal authorities, making really strange recommendations. This individual was very interesting. And I felt like the city council didn't address it properly. So putting something in the commissions that outlines steps and recommendations on how to deal with that when commissioners are acting out of line and not putting their jobs and responsibilities as the first, and also not being able to make political recommendations, or there was the same commissioner making.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Non-agenda items, 1 minute. State your name.
Ron Dowell. Section 712 charges the chief of police with preserving the public peace and exercising the powers granted under California law. That language warrants thoughtful review in light of today's public safety realities. The tragic July 4th murders of Eric Washington and Mia Borden Jenkins remind us that preserving the peace means more than responding after violence occurs. As this committee reviews the charter, I encourage you to assess whether Section 712 adequately reflects current expectations for constitutional policing, community-oriented policing, crime prevention, community partnerships, transparency, accountability, and coordination with the LA Sheriff Department. Charter reform should not merely reserve government, it should strengthen public confidence in government. Let's build a charter worthy of Compton's future, not merely one that meets an election deadline.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Public comments, non-agenda items, state your name, 1 minute.
Hernando Gutierrez, Compton. It's clear the government documents should not be evaluated independently. I pretty much picked that up, and it took me a while. Instead, the reviewers should examine how the charter, the municipal code, the ordinances, resolutions, and administrative policies interact. This is a complex thing. And that's why when they're talking about we're trying to complete this in light speed, it becomes an issue. So I know we're going to try to do this the best way we can, but it's very complicated. Please include why you are making a specific recommendation, a study of impact. For example, term limits, 2 years. Why? Why not 3? Why not 5, right? And what will be the impact later on? Okay, traceability. We're talking about what happened in 2009. Well, we don't know because there's no traceability.
Okay.
So traceability.
Thank you, sir. Okay, appreciate you. Anyone else? 1 minute, non-agenda items, state your name.
Vanessa. As we go over the charter, I think it's important that we learn the history of why the charter was structured. Because listening to some of the commissioners, I know there's some things that may look like it shouldn't be there, but when you start taking certain things out, that eliminates us as we will no longer become be a charter city. So some of these things are mandatory that we do have. And once you learn the history of why it was set in place, it was really to preserve Compton. And we've gotten outside of a lot of the reason for it, but if you understand it and get the history of why it was set up like this, then you'll know why we need those certain things to maintain our charter. So I think you should really read that. You'll understand why we need those things.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Let me just pan over to Secretary Lister. I'm assuming we have no one on our online queue.
Mr. Chair, we have nobody on Zoom waiting to comment.
Okay. All right, last call for non-agenda items. All right, moving on into Charter Review Committee member comments. Any comments from the committee? I'll call you and recognize you. Commissioner Gideon.
Yes, I wanted to know if Ms. Benz has received any feedback regarding the federal grant request.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gideon. Tamara Benz. Council did receive the information that you shared at the last council meeting, and council has provided feedback to our city manager that will be forwarded to our grants management team. Our grants department will be looking at that for fiscal year 26-27. So this current period. So the current fiscal year started on July 1st and it ends on June 30th of 27. So being that our budget has already passed, you provided some information about a grant, and that has been forwarded to our grants team, and they will be looking at that for this current fiscal year, which is July 1 of 26 up through June 30th of 27.
Looking at what feedback will come.
Sure. As far as specific feedback, that I don't have, but I do know that the council forwarded the information to our grants team for them to look at and work on it. And I, is one of my role as assistant city manager, the grants department is one of eight departments that I oversee. So I can assure you without making promises that the grants department will look at the information that you've provided.
Well, I have additional information. That's why I was asking. So
sure.
Okay. So how do I send that to you?
You are more than welcome to send an email to me, and the information that you do share, I will share with the grants team, but the grants department will be the administrative department that will be overseeing the request that was presented to council.
I just want to be clear about who I send additional information to. That's
You
just
can send that information.
to you and to the grants. You copy to the grants.
Being that you are a member of the Charter Review Committee and I'm the staff liaison, feel free to send the information to me. And also sharing, as Assistant City Manager, I happen to oversee that department. So I can assure you that they will receive the information that you submit.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm going to deviate just this one time only. There's a gentleman in the audience who says that he has a comment. Sir, this will be a one time only because I've closed this portion off. Okay, you have 1 minute. Okay, state your name. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Mark Smith.
Okay.
We were just conferring and going over some old charters. This is a charter from 83, 1983. And I see that the charter is basically, after reviewing, maybe saying some of the same things regarding, because we do not have our own police department under 712. Now, the chief of police and the powers and duties. In 1983, this charter spoke to preserve the public peace, execute all returns issued to by legal authority, and exercise all the powers that are now or may thereafter be conferred upon the sheriffs and other police officers by the laws of the state. So I'm not sure, I wasn't here if we were taking out this section, but I think it does speak to an overlap, even though we do not have a local police chief. It does speak to the sheriffs that are still in, that is in here. It overlaps, even though we did have our own police department.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And just for the record, this was a one-time because we want to acknowledge new faces when they come. So I want to thank you for being present. But this is a one-time exception that we went off of schedule. All right, so back to Charter Review Committee comments. Any other committee comments? Vice Butler?
Thank you. I just want to recognize my fellow committee members. Over the past several months, we have dedicated countless hours in reviewing this charter and listening to presentations, asking thoughtful questions, and engaging in respectful discussion. I believe each person has a passion and remain committed to the common purpose, improving and governing documents that will serve the city of Compton for years to come. One lesson this process has reinforced for me is that good government is built on collaboration. No single committee, department, elected official, or resident has every answer. The strongest policies are developed when we listen respectfully, evaluate the facts, consider fiscal responsibility, and remain focused on serving the community rather than individual interests. I believe that spirit of collaboration has guided this committee, and I hope it continues to guide the city as we move forward. It has become very clear that modernization of the city charter is a significant undertaking. There are many provisions that deserve careful analysis, public discussion, and thoughtful consideration. Although our time has been limited, I believe we have made meaningful progress and established a strong foundation to future work. So I just want to say thank you for everybody that come out. I know we only have about 2 more meetings, but I just wanted to acknowledge each of the commissioner and also the public for coming out and participating. So that was very important for me.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Commissioner Quinteros.
Thank you. I want to start off by apologizing for not making last meeting. I'm so sorry for that. But I do want to echo some of the public comment. The more and more we look into this, the more I think this keeps coming up. And it's the crossover and conflict between the city charter, the municipal code, state law, and things like the personnel, or just, employment law and such. I know that the charter is central and special to the city of Compton. I know it defines us, it shows us where we come from and, where we hope to go. However, I do think that based on what we keep hearing from individuals like representatives from the city attorney's office, from HR now, and everyone, we need to understand that a lot of what is included in the charter may be, for lack of a better term, antiquated and conflict with the current status of the law and other procedures. So though it may hurt removing some things or altering things, it kind of leaves us no choice, because it can be in here, but it doesn't seem to have any teeth, because we are subject to the personnel board. The charter is subject to what the city municipal code says and such. So as we go forward and we start, I know we're making recommendations, but when we start voting on what we're actually going to present, I think it's very important that we start to see what we can actually change, what can actually be adopted, because I'm starting to see that given all these other mixture of things, some of these things are just not going to be able to come to fruition without, I don't know without what, but it just don't seem to be able to come to fruition. Not to sound like a downer or anything like that, just trying to be realistic as we see this, and a way of thinking about us changing the charter into a better way.
Okay, understood. I just want to do a quick time check. It's 7:26. I'm committed to honoring the people who you cannot see, to having us end at 7:30. So let's be respectful. One last comment?
Yes, I have a comment. I've been reading where we now have 30 days to live in the city to be elected. I have been investigating the 1 year, and what they're doing is they're doing resolutions to change it, and they're requesting utility bills, driver's license, rent receipts. So that's something we should consider, because we have not looked at the 30-day running for office in the city of Compton. We need more.
Okay, Commissioner Baker.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to say to the listening public and to my fellow commissioners, pardon me if I come across sometimes as bullheaded or inarticulate. Listening to Commissioner Quinteros reminds me I probably should have went to law school so I could have been able to speak as eloquently as him, because literally he said some things today that I tried to articulate previously. I just didn't do very well in doing so. So I thank my brother for pointing out some of those things. I want to just say, just really quick in closing on my behalf, that my thoughts and prayers go out to those individuals that lost their lives in the city of Compton recently. And if I come off as, very strong-willed or bullheaded, it's because I was one of those at-risk youth at one point. I was one of those kids that benefited from parks and recreation. So I'm not speaking from an ivory tower. I'm speaking from firsthand experience. And I just want folks to be respectful of that as well. We say that, we say that we need to do things in the city that benefit the youth, where I was one of those youth, and I'm still one of those youth, one of those younger generation to some people up here. So, I just wanted to say that, I want to see the city improve. I'm very passionate about it, and I thank you all for giving your time, and I'm going to keep giving mine.
All right, thank you. So it's 7:28. Yes.
And what I was going to say earlier is that, going to Commissioner Quinteros, I hear you when you speak about what we can do and what we can't do and all that. And I used to have that same mentality. But I'm starting to believe that with us being an advisory board, we really can advise almost anything if we as a group agree to it and forward it up to council. So don't be afraid to speak on something that you want to put out there as a suggestion, no matter how weird it might, how wild it might sound to yourself, because you never know. We might have the same thing, and we didn't have the courage to say it. So, Commissioner Harbrook has some things that when she talks to me about, I'm like, I don't get it right away. And after a while, I'm going, I get it. But I would have never had that thought if she hadn't brought it up. So, brother, feel free to speak on something. That's all.
Okay, we're right on schedule. It's 7:29. My job has been fulfilled. Okay, so I want to.
I have one question in terms of a meeting
Commissioner,
schedule.
I didn't acknowledge you yet. Commissioner Gideon? And
Thank you,
literally,
sir.
we have 30 seconds.
I heard something, only 2 meetings left, and then I received an email says that the time span ends October 30th for this commission, so I just need clarity on that.
Okay, clarity will be provided. Okay, so can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:30.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Got called.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Sir,
Time is
sir,
now.
You got called for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't get a second?
Second.
Okay. Meeting is adjourned. Time is now 7:30.
Sir, got called for a vote. All in favor?
I'm so sorry.
I'm just trying to keep us on task.
I'm so focused on trying to get everybody out by 7:30. Vote, please.
All in favor, say yes.
Yeah, aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you. 7:30.